Hey guys, today we're going to talk about a 12.5-foot Native Salyer Max that I picked up at a sale that my son and I went to, and if you haven't seen that video, check it out because it's kind of fun. We got the kayak all cleaned up and we moved it into the shop, and what we're going to do now is do some basic wiring on it. We're going to install a battery. We're going to get a main power switch ran back to the console on the side. So let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is get the Velcro put in to hold the battery down. So what I did is I measured inside the kayak a couple of holes, and then I transferred those holes onto my Velcro strap. And what I'm going to do, my stainless steel bolts and my finishing washers, and I'm going to put those through the Velcro strap. So we'll get that dropped in here. So we'll go through the first strap, through the second one. And now we have our strap put together with our two bolts. So we'll go ahead and drop those bolts through the holes in the kayak that we drilled where we're going to put the battery. So we'll get those in. There's the first one, and there's the back one. Now we're going to take a flat washer and a lock nut, and we're going to go underneath and tighten that down on the bolts. So now that we have our Velcro strap in, we can take our battery and we can sit that in the compartment. Just kind of center it there, and then we can take the Velcro loop and just cinch that down. And now we got our battery sitting in there and it's secure, so that we don't have to worry about it when we're transferring the kayak to the water and stuff like that. We don't have to worry about it tipping over or bouncing around. Now that we have the battery installed, we're going to go ahead and put the Quick Connect SAE Connect in the side, and we'll get started on that by drilling our holes for the master switch and for the SAE plug. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is put our SAE plug in here, because I want to be able to have a quick disconnect from the power block and the battery so that I can take the battery out. To do that, I'm just going to sit the battery in here so I can kind of get the right height so we don't have to put a lot of bend on the wires. So I think we're going to drop it in about right here. Is going to be the center point. We're going to take our step bit and we're going to go ahead and get that hole started. And for that SAE plug, we go in the whole depth of the bit. So now we can feed our SAE plug through here, our wires. And look at that, guys. Just like the factory did it. So now we're going to have that plug in there. And what we're going to do now is mark these holes, and we're going to go ahead and drill some screws in here to hold this onto the side of the kayak. And we're going to put this with the cap to the front. That way the wires are lined up properly with the battery when we put the plug on. And we'll go ahead and we're just going to pre-drill one of these holes. Now that we have that pre-drilled, we'll go ahead and take the screw we're going to use to fasten that to the side, to the bulkhead here, and tighten that up. Alright, and then we'll get that so it looks level. Maybe just turn it just a tad. So we'll go ahead and drill the other 3 holes. You always want to pre-drill your holes. You want to make sure it's smaller than the screw you're going to use. We're just doing that to help us get the screws started. If you drill them too big, your screw won't have anything to bite into. And our plug is in. It looks really nice. So we've got that in there, and we're off to the next step. What we're going to do now is we're going to put a master switch in here so that when we get the battery on, we put our kayak away for the night, we can turn the master power off, and that'll shut the power off to everything on the kayak. This port, in case you're wondering, guys, is when I do the Garmin. The gentleman that had the kayak before me, this is where he had his transducer plug and everything running through here up to the back panel. So ignore this for right now. That's going to come into play when we put the Garmin in. So let's go ahead and get our hole drilled for our switch. For this particular switch, it takes a 13/16 inch hole, which is 1 step away from this entire step bit. So we're going to go ahead and get that drilled in. Okay, that should do it if I measured right. So now this is just a press fit. We're not going to put it in right now because I want to hook my wires up before I push this in there, because otherwise it's going to be hard to feel back here and get these on the right terminals. So we'll just, you can see that's going to go in right there. But for now, like I said, we're going to leave it out here and we can feed the wires through here, easily hook them up to the switch, test the switch, and then we'll go ahead and snap that in. Okay, so let's talk through the wiring real quick of the switch. So we've got our SAE plug. This is going to be our negative and positive coming from the battery. And again, that's a nice disconnect. We can take that off. We can pull the battery. On our switch, I like to use one with a light on it. And it's just that way I have a quick visual to know if the power is off or on. So because of that, we need to run a negative to the switch. When you look at the switch, it'll be a different color. It won't be silver. That's your ground. So you go ahead and put your ground on there, and that's your ground. And then this is the positive, and this is the hot wire straight from the battery, okay? Because this is going to switch that power out to this hot lead that's going to go to our fuse panel. So that hot lead comes over to the main hot on our fuse panel. And that way we can control again the power from the battery into our fuse panel, and then we'll run our accessories off of this. So we've gone ahead and tested everything to make sure our connections work and that we had our wiring on our switch correct. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to mount that, and we're going to make sure we just go through slow on that. And the switch that we will put in the description, it's just a snap-in switch. So we just want to line that up, give it a good press, and it's in. Look how awesome that looks, guys. We got our main power hook up with the SAE, and we've got our main power switch going to the fuse block. That's awesome. So we'll drop our battery in. We'll go ahead and Velcro that down, strap it down with the Velcro strap that we put in earlier. So I went ahead and put the piggyback connectors on here. And I like those because just in case we ever want down the road want to hop something straight off of the battery, we can do that with these. And if you want to see how these work in more detail, you can check out our power box video that we did for a live scope. So we're going to go ahead and hook this up to the battery. And now that we have that hooked up, we can open our door and we can go ahead and plug in our SAE connector. And you can see that our switch is on right now, but we can pop that off and we're off. And then we're on. All right, we're going to go ahead and get our fuse block mounted up, and that's going to be the wrap on this video. So I'm going to mount the power block, the fuse block. I'm going to mount it on the back side of the bulkhead where we put the battery, and I'm just going to use some double stick 3M tape. We'll see how that works. This stuff is automotive grade, and it's pretty stout. So we're just going to go ahead and get that mounted up here. I'm going to do it in a spot though, so that I can still get to the screws on here, so I can hook up my positives and stuff. All right. All right, we got the fuse block mounted up on the back side of the bulkhead. I think it looks pretty darn good. Now we can start wiring up our light socket and our USB and all that. We've got a nice place to go to hook up that's fused to get power.